going global. For a lot of companies, that's the dream, right? The final frontier. But here's what they usually find out the hard way. A new country isn't just a new market, it's a brand new maze. It's this complex web of hidden rules, tricky politics, and deep, deep culture. One wrong turn, and you could be done. But if you can navigate it successfully, well, that's where the real growth is. So that's the big question we're diving into here. How does a company actually conquer that maze? To figure it out, we're going to follow the journey of one company that's about to step right into it. So let me introduce you to our hero company, Global Vision Semiconductors. We'll just call them GVS. They're a big player in the tech world, and they have this huge, ambitious goal to expand into the super dynamic and, yeah, super complex market of Malaysia. This is their story. All right, so GVS is all set to make its big move. They've got a fantastic product, a solid business plan. They think they're ready. But here's the thing. They're about to find out that the official rulebook, that's only half the story. The real game is way more complicated than they ever could have imagined. The very first thing GVS learns is that a company is never an island. The second they land, they're caught in what you see here, this web of complexity. Look at all those arrows. It's a constant push and pull. You've got pressure from the Malaysian government, from their own home government, from powerful NGOs, and of course, from the public. Every single decision they make sends ripples through this entire web. So, to even begin to navigate this web, GVS can't just focus on what they can see. They have to get a handle on the invisible forces, the things that shape every single interaction. They need to learn the real rules of the game. And that brings us to a really important idea: institutions. Now, when I say institutions, don't think of big stone buildings. Think of what the economist Douglas North said here. Institutions are the rules, the humanly devised constraints we all create that literally structure how we interact in business, in politics, in all of society. They're the invisible guardrails. Now, these rules, they basically come in two flavors. On one hand, you've got the formal rules. This is the stuff you can look up in a book, the laws, the policies, the official regulations. But then you have the informal rules, and this is the tricky part. This is the unwritten stuff, the cultural norms, the social values, the local traditions. To have any chance of winning, GVS absolutely has to master both. And these rules can feel like big red stop signs, right? They're constraints. For instance, a formal rule in Malaysia is the Bumi Pura equity requirement, which mandates that a certain percentage of a company has to be owned by the ethnic Malay majority. And an informal rule? Well, something like the cultural expectation of halal compliance in their company cafeteria to show respect for the local Muslim workforce. GVS has to navigate both of those carefully. But, and this is a big but, here's the other side of the coin. These same institutions can be green lights. They can be enablers that actually speed up your growth. Formally, Malaysia offers something called pioneer status, which gives amazing tax breaks to high-tech firms just like GVS. And informally, the local culture puts a huge emphasis on building relationships. Once you earn that trust, it can create incredible loyalty with local partners. Okay, so GVS is feeling pretty good. They're starting to get the rules. But just when they think they've cracked the code, they're about to run headfirst into a massive mistake, treating the entire country as one single place. This is probably one of the biggest myths in all of global business. And that whole myth is wrapped up in this one simple but incredibly powerful phrase: national averages lie. I'm going to say it again. National averages lie. Probably the biggest mistake any global company can make is to treat a diverse country like it's one uniform market. Honestly, it's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, just look at this map of Malaysia. It shows you the problem perfectly. You've got a booming tech hub in a region like Penang, which has a totally different business vibe than a rural agricultural region like Kelantan. And that's completely different, again, from the eastern states of Sabah and Sarawak, which have their own autonomous legal traditions. See, it's one country, but it's really many different worlds. So, as if figuring out all of Malaysia's internal diversity wasn't a big enough headache, GVS is now facing another, even bigger challenge. In today's world, especially in a critical industry like semiconductors, business strategy and national security have become totally tangled up. You simply cannot separate them anymore. For a company like GVS, this means they're smack in the middle of the huge tech rivalry between the US and China. They have to figure out how to leverage Malaysia's official position of neutrality, while also being incredibly careful to follow all the international export controls on their sensitive microchips. One wrong move here could have massive geopolitical consequences.
So the chessboard is set. The situation is incredibly complex, and the geopolitical stakes couldn't be higher. GVS can't afford to just react to things as they happen. They need a proactive playbook. They have to decide deliberately on their strategic moves.
So, after all this, the web of complexity, the formal and informal rules, the geopolitical pressure, what's the playbook? I mean, how does GVS actually make its winning move? Well, the answer lies in this simple but brilliant tool, the Strategic Response Matrix. It lays out 4 possible strategies, and it all depends on 2 really simple factors. First, how important is the issue to GVS? And second, how much power does GVS actually have to influence it? Let's break these 4 strategies down. First up, you have a seed. This is often the default move, the no-brainer. When your power on an issue is low or the issue just isn't your top priority, you simply comply. For GVS, this means following every single local labor and environmental law to the letter. It's not a hill worth dying on, you just play by their rules. Okay, next strategy, ally. This is what you do when an issue is absolutely critical, but you know you can't tackle it alone. You collaborate. A perfect move for GVS could be forming a joint venture with a powerful government-linked company. This doesn't just help them meet local ownership rules, it gives them instant political legitimacy and an invaluable inside track. Now we get to the power move, alter. This is for when GVS has some serious leverage. Let's say they're bringing in a massive investment and creating thousands of jobs. They can use that power to actively try to change the rules. They can go straight to the government and lobby for custom tax breaks that are tailor-made just for their project. And finally, there's the avoid strategy. Because you know what? Sometimes the smartest move is to just sidestep a rule altogether. GVS could choose to set up their entire factory inside what's called a free industrial zone. By manufacturing 100% of their products for export, they could legally bypass certain local ownership rules entirely. It's a strategic workaround. So GVS now has its playbook. And through this whole journey, they've stumbled upon the ultimate competitive advantage. They've learned that winning abroad isn't about forcing your global strategy onto a new place. It's all about mastering the local game. So let's pull this all together. There's a golden thread here, a clear 4-step process to success. Step 1, you have to analyze the messy, on-the-ground reality. Step 2, you apply institutional theory to map out all those formal and informal rules. Step 3, you layer on the geopolitical security context. And only then, after all that, do you hit step 4. You select the right strategic move from your playbook. In the end, it really all boils down to this one powerful idea. You have to think globally, but you absolutely have to strategize locally. Because when you're in that global maze, understanding the local rules isn't just a nice advantage, it's everything. And the real question isn't just how to win in one country, but how you can turn this entire process into a skill you can repeat for every new market you ever decide to enter.